Okay, so I realized as I was going through all the notes from the Dhamma talks I've been giving, that we have been spending the whole of last month of September talking about sampajanya, the quality of clear comprehension. I counted about 14 Dhamma talks just on this topic on sampajanya, clear comprehension. Yes, it's one of the qualities, mental qualities that must accompany every moment, noting. When you practice satipatthana, every time you note, that noting mind must be accompanied by this quality of clear comprehension. Yeah. So we spent the whole of last month talking about this. So we started by discussing what is this sampajanya, clear comprehension. So we mentioned that it is a synonymous term with panya, wisdom, jnana, clear knowledge, vipassana, insight. So sampajanya actually is vipassana, it's insight that discerns clearly nature of the nama rupa, particularly nature of this common characteristic samanya lakkhana, anicca dukkha anatta. So we discuss about the three meanings of sampajanya as given in the commentary to the Satipatthana Sutta. First one is samma pajananto, that means knowing correctly. Knowing correctly, meaning knowing clearly, by distinguishing clearly each mental or physical nature that arises in our experience separately. So when a yogi note the experience, is able to discern clearly and separately each mental or physical nature that are present in the experience. You can resolve the compact experience into the constituent mental, physical nature. Know it clearly, each one, each nature separately. Okay? And that's one kind of clear comprehension. So this, as we explained, takes place the first insight, nama rupa paricheda jnana, insight that discern or delimit, that means separate each mental physical nature clearly. Okay. The second meaning is samantato pajananto. So that means knowing entirely, knowing completely, knowing in all respect. Okay, so this means knowing each of this individual mental physical nature in all its various nature. Okay? So first you separate it clearly. Okay? That's sammapajananto. You distinguish each one separately clearly. Then each one of this mental physical nature that you are able to discern separately, you can know their nature, their unique nature, sabhava lakkhana. Okay? And then the sankhata lakkhana, nature, conditioned nature of arising and disappearing. And then samanya lakkhana, nature of impermanent, suffering, non-self. Okay? So when you know each of this mental or physical nature that are noted, in all these three respects. Sabhava lakkhana, Sankata lakkhana, Samanya lakkhana. Then it's called Samantato Pajananto, knowing it entirely, completely in all respects. And then the third meaning, the last one is Samam Pajananto. So this is more of a kind of encouragement. It means knowing by oneself. And also as a reminder that you should make effort yourself to develop this clear comprehension. Nobody will develop this clear comprehension for you. Not even the Buddha. The Buddha says the Buddhas only point out the way. So you must yourself make effort to walk the path. So Samam Pajananto means knowing by oneself. That means making effort oneself. So that in order to develop this clear insight, and also making effort so that this insight develop progressively, so that you're not stagnant. So you're continuously pushing forward. So making effort to reach higher and higher distinction in clear knowledge, till finally you attain Maggaphala Jnana, which is the highest distinction in knowledge. So Samam Pajananto. So basically, this means sampajanya, or sampajano means one makes effort in order to have or develop this clear comprehension. And then this, which basically means making effort to know clearly one nature after another as it arises in your experience. So rising arise, rising. Falling arise, falling. Rising again, rising. Falling again, falling. You just keep knowing, one after another. Tightness arise, tightness. Knowing of tightness, knowing of tightness. Another tightness, so again knowing of tightness. Another knowing of tightness, again knowing of the knowing of tightness. So keep knowing, so make effort, keep knowing. As you make effort, the knowing becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. Okay? And then as it gets clearer and clearer and clearer, so you pick up one nature after another, continuously, moment after moment after moment. And then you begin to discern how they arise, how each of these nature that are known arises and disappears. So tightness arises and disappears. The knowing of the tightness, that knowing also is seen to arise and disappear. So when you feel you're not touching, you feel the sensation, hardness, yes, knowing of hardness, that also arise and disappear. So both the hardness and the knowing of the hardness arise and disappear. Okay, so basically it's just to make effort to continuously know one thing after another. So that's vipassana. Vipassana is not questioning how is this, why is this, how come it's like this. There'll be no end to questioning. Okay? So you simply know. Okay, whatever arises, simply know. Don't ask any question. Why this, why that? Sometimes some meditation teachers, so yogi are prone to ask all kinds of questions. How come my rising falling like that? How come my head so heavy? How come this? How come that? There's some meditation teacher, when they get this question, then they counter the yogi. Why the sky so high? Why the ocean so deep? So you go and ask. No end to this question. Don't ask, just know. Whatever arises, just know. Rising, arise, no rising. Falling, arise, no falling. Touching, no touching. Is hardness, no hardness. Is pressure, no pressure. Whatever is there, just know. Okay? But not just the physical quality. Okay? Physical qualities is just half of your experience. Okay? What is the other half? Mental qualities. Right? There is nama rupa. There is also the knowing, the feeling. They come together. Your mind is clear. One moment you know it's all there. There's an object, there's a knowing, object or the feeling, and so on. You see? Yeah. Some yogis, because their mind is so, how to say, can I say narrow? I don't know if I can use the word narrow. So when you give them instruction, not rising, falling, and they hear rising, falling, okay, just rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. So as long as you don't give any other instruction, rising, falling, they start with just rising, falling, nothing else. So that means your noting is very narrow, just on the rising, falling, instead of seeing the whole experience of rising and whole experience of falling. So the whole experience consists of not just the rising and the falling. There's also the knowing of the rising, knowing of the falling, noting of the rising, noting of the falling. That's the mental aspect of it. Okay? Yeah. So this also actually depends on how sharp is the wisdom. Yeah. So some people, you don't have to tell them. You just tell them not rising, falling. Very quickly, once they are noting established on rising, falling, very soon they begin to realize that's not just the rising, falling. There's also the mental aspect, the mental qualities, the mental nature present in the experience. So sometimes it's due to the sharpness of the wisdom. Wisdom is not that sharp, a bit down. So you stop. You just rising, falling. So after a while, we have to give you some hint to not just to stick with the rising and the falling, but to take a step back and see the whole experience as it is. So that means you must be completely open to the experience. So take in the entire experience. So you can see the entire experience. Then the mental aspect is there also. It's part of the experience. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the vipassana is about noting, one noting after another. So noting means knowing clearly. Rising, I know rising. Falling, you know falling. Sitting, you know sitting. Touching, you know touching. When your attention is more refined, when you're not rising, and there's tightness, you know tightness. There's tension, you know it's tension. It's pulling, you know it's pulling. It's vibration, you know vibration. If it's knowing, you know there's a knowing. Knowing of tightness, knowing of tension, you know. clearly. Touching also. At first it's just touching. When the attention is more refined, more clear, that's what is hardness. Then you know hardness. If there's pressure, you know, okay, pressure. There's a knowing of pressure, okay, knowing of pressure. There's hardness, there's knowing of hardness. So knowing one nature after another. And when it is clear enough, then you see, the arising of hardness, arising of knowing of hardness. Clearer still, disappearance of hardness, disappearance and knowing of hardness. So, and if you observe this continuously, then impermanent suffering, non-self, which is more of an experience. As you say, you actually feel the impermanent nature, you actually feel the oppressive nature, the unbearable nature, feel until sometimes you even get stressed out. So, until you become very depressed, give up hope. There's no more hope in life. Yes, you experience certain stages of insight. It can be very depressing. So you come to practice vipassana hoping to enjoy bliss, enjoy piti. Most of the time you will be disappointed. There are certain stages like Udaya Bayanyana where you do really enjoy piti, sukha, very pleasant experience, but most of the time is dukkha. Dukkha. Because you don't experience dukkha, how are you going to give up attachment? You don't understand clearly the truth of suffering. How you abandon the truth of the cause of suffering. Right? And that's why the Buddha says this noble truth of suffering is to be fully understood. Parineyam is to be fully understood. Okay? Then the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, pahatabam, it is to be abandoned. Right? But to abandon, you need to understand clearly, full understanding of the truth of suffering. And that's what vipassana meditation is all about. That's what vipassana insight is. That is why we develop vipassana insight. Vipassana insight is to realize, understand fully the truth of suffering, so that we can abandon the cause of suffering. So that when the cause of suffering is abandoned, then Sachikatabam, realize the third noble truth. The third noble truth, Sachikatabam, is to be realized. It must be realized. To realize it, you must abandon the cause of suffering. So, to abandon cause of suffering, you have to develop vipassana. So when you abandon the cause of suffering, and the cause is removed, then the effect which is suffering ceases. Then the yogi experiences, realizes the cessation of suffering. Okay? And then what must you do to realize the cessation of suffering? You have to develop the fourth noble truth, the path. Okay? So bhavitabam, fourth noble truth should be developed. Bhavitabam. How do you develop it? So you develop insight. That is Noble Eightfold Path. Vipassana meditation is the Noble Eightfold Path. We are developing the preliminary path. Pubbabhagamagga. Okay? So that is vipassana meditation. Okay? So when this preliminary path is developed, the insight is developed, is fully mature, then the real noble eightfold path, Ariya Magga arises. And it directs the mind towards the cessation, experience of the cessation of suffering, experience of nibbana. Okay? Yeah. So this is sampajanya. Okay? So our path is actually to develop this wisdom, this sampajanya. It starts with sila. On top of sila, you develop sila as a foundation. Okay? So establish on sila, then you develop samadhi. Right? From samadhi, based on samadhi, then you develop panya. It's clear comprehension. Okay? So all the various stages of insight, nama rupa paricheda, pacaya parigaha, and so on. Until finally Magganyana and then Palanyana. Okay? Yeah. So that's Sampajanya. Okay? Yeah. So we also discuss about the kinds, different kinds of Sampajanya, according to the commentary, the 4 kinds of clear comprehension. Sattaka Sampajanya, clear comprehension as to what is beneficial for the practice. So considering with a clear mind what is beneficial for the practice and what is not beneficial, and only pursue what is beneficial and give up what is not beneficial. Okay? So you find you're thinking again and again, thinking instead of noting, and then you clear comprehension, you apply. This is not beneficial, abandon, give up. And then sappaya sampajanya, clear comprehension as to suitability. Okay? What is considering a clear mind, what is suitable, what is not suitable for the practice, and pursue only what is suitable, abandon what is not suitable. Okay? And then gochara sampajanya, clear comprehension of domain. That means with a clear mind, you remain within the domain of yogi. That means the 4 satipatthana object. So that means you must be continuously noting these objects, either one of them. At any one moment, your mind must always be on one of these 4 objects, noting continuously. Yeah? So this actually means anupassana. So with a clear mind, you keep within these 4 objects, noting of these 4 objects. That means you are noting it continuously. Okay? So to keep within, you must be continuously noting. That means anupassana. Once you stop noting, you are no longer within this domain. You are outside of this domain. That means outside of this domain is what? Outside of the domain of the yogi is the domain of Mara. So if you stop noting, then you fall into the clutch of Mara. And then the last one, asamoha sampajana, clear comprehension of non-delusion. This is the insight itself. So insight that discerns clearly the nature of the nama rupa. Okay? Sabhava, sankata, samanya. Right? So we also discussed these 4 kinds of clear comprehension. And then because clear comprehension or wisdom does not arise without samadhi, so therefore we took a long detour to discuss about samadhi, particularly about kanika samadhi. So, and then finally after that we discuss about discuss in some detail about the different nature of the nama rupa, that the clear comprehension discerned, right? So nature sabhava, sankata, and samanya. So so sampajanya, clear comprehension, is a very important part of vipassana meditation. So as we said, it is actually vipassana itself. So without sampajanya, there is no vipassana meditation. So as we mentioned also before, vipassana meditation means sati sampajanya, mindfulness together with clear comprehension. Okay? Mindfulness alone is not enough. Okay? It must be mindfulness together with clear comprehension. Then only you are developing insight. Okay? So with mindfulness alone, you might end up even doing samatha instead of vipassana, which is actually not bad. I mean, samatha also, you are developing a wholesome mind. Okay? But it falls short of the goal of liberation from dukkha. Because without clear comprehension, you do not develop the insight that leads to liberation. The insight that allows the mind, gives the mind the strength to abandon the cause of suffering and to experience, realize liberation from dukkha. So that is not developed in samatha. So mindfulness alone is not enough. It must be mindfulness together with clear comprehension. And by clear comprehension, we mean this insight into the nature of the nama rupa. Okay? Not just any kind of wisdom. Okay? Not the conventional, everyday kind of wisdom. That is not considered the clear comprehension in the context of satipatthana. Okay? In the context of satipatthana, sampajanya means the clear discernment of the nature of the nama rupa. Okay? Okay, so we are almost at the end of the discussion of the basic instruction of satipatthana. We have spent so long. Actually, the whole of the satipatthana is in the Digha Nikaya as well as Majjhima Nikaya. So it's considerably long sutta. But so far, we are still on the Udesa, that means the introduction section. So the summary section. So we are almost at the end of this basic instruction of satipatthana. So you still remember the instruction? The kaya nupasi viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijja domanasa. So the yogi, he dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. So far, we have already explained what does it mean to dwell contemplating. What does it mean to contemplate? That means to note continuously, without a break, not relentlessly, moment after moment after moment. And then the body in the body, the feeling in the feelings, and so on. That means you have to note precisely, exactly in the moment when it arises. So if it's rising, your attention must be precisely on rising. If it's falling, your attention must be precisely on falling. So precisely also means completely. Okay? Not half here, half there. Half on rising, falling, half on pain. So your attention split. It must be precisely just on one object. So and then every time you note like this, note continuously with precision. Every time you note, every moment you note, there must be ardent, energetic effort. There must be clear comprehension. There must be mindfulness. Okay, and as a result of such noting every moment, so what happened? What happened is given in the last part. Vinaya loke abhijja domanasam, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay, so when you note continuously, not precisely, with ardent energetic effort, with mindfulness, clear comprehension, the result is every time you note like this, every moment you note like this, in that moment, the covetousness and grief is abandoned, is overcome. Yeah. So this last part shows the result of noting. Okay? The previous part shows what you must do. Okay? So what you must do. So in that one instruction, one sentence, the Buddha shows what you must do, and then what is the result when you do this. So this last part, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world, we have actually already discussed it a little when we were discussing about samadhi. So then we mentioned that it actually implies samadhi, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world implies the presence of samadhi. Okay, so samadhi itself is not mentioned in this instruction, right? So in this instruction, the Buddha mentioned viriya, right? Ardent, energetic effort. He mentioned mindfulness. He mentioned clear comprehension. Okay, but he didn't mention samadhi. But samadhi is implied by this last part, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay, but actually, it does not only imply samadhi. Okay? It implies both samadhi as well as sampajanya, clear comprehension, or vipassana. Okay? Because both samadhi as well as clear comprehension is able to overcome this covetousness and grief. Okay? So they can be overcome with either samadhi or with vipassana, with insight. Okay, we'll come to that later. So first, let's look at this word loke, the world. So with regards to the world, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Excuse me. So loke, in the world, or with regards to the world, is in the locative case. So the world, so what does it mean, the world? So in the teachings of the Dhamma, so the world, loka, is explained. Lujjana palujjana tena loko. So it is the world in the sense of breaking up, in the sense of dissolving, breaking up, crumbling, dissolving. That is the meaning of loka, the world. So therefore, you see, Buddhists sees the world as something that breaks up, that crumbles, that dissolves away. So that means we see the world as what? As impermanent. Something that is impermanent, that is unstable, that is insecure from change, that is not capable of serving as a true refuge. Can it serve as a refuge? Some things that keeps breaking up, crumbling, dissolving away. So it's unstable. It is subject to change moment to moment, subject to disappearance, breaking up. Can this serve as a reliable refuge? If you are searching for security, security from dukkha, can it serve as a refuge? You cannot, right? That's why it is impermanent. And what is impermanent is suffering. It's continuously disappearing, breaking up. So how can it serve as a reliable refuge? Yeah. And so therefore, a wise person who understands the nature of the world do not seek refuge in this mundane world, this loka. Because if you seek refuge in the mundane world, you'll be disappointed, frustrated again and again. So you seek refuge in what? Usually in the world, what do people seek refuge in? Where do people seek happiness in? Sensual pleasures. If you do not know any better, then usually you seek refuge in sensual pleasures. Right? If you are Buddhist, then you have a little bit knowledge, then you seek refuge in both sensual pleasure and the Dhamma. They say you hedge your bet, this one, if this one does not work out, if the Dhamma does not work out, I still have sensual pleasure. Hedge your bet. So, yeah, most of the time, you do not know any better, you do not have the wisdom of the Dhamma, then you seek refuge in the mundane world, in loka. Right? But wise person who have knowledge of the Dhamma, who have knowledge of the nature of loka, will not seek refuge in loka, in the mundane world. So where do they seek refuge? They seek refuge in lokuttara, in the supramundane. Lokuttara means loka uttara. Loka means the world. Uttara means transcending, going beyond. So that which transcend the world. So lokuttara. Usually we translate lokuttara as supramundane, as opposed to the mundane. Mundane means the world. Mundane means the world of samsara, the world of arising, disappearing. Lujjana, palujjana. Breaking up, dissolving, crumbling. This is the world, the mundane world, loka. Okay. So lokuttara means the opposite. It goes beyond this nature. So what is it? What is lokuttara? Lokuttara is maggaphala nibbana. That's lokuttara. Okay. So there's 4 magga, 4 phala, right? So it means sotapatti magga, sotapatti phala, right? Sakadagami magga, sakadagami phala, and so on until arhata magga, arhata phala. Right? So altogether 8, and then nibbana 9. So sometimes you hear this expression nawa lokuttara dhamma, the 9 supramundane dhammas. So this refers to the 4 magga, 4 phala, and then nibbana. Okay, so a wise person take refuge in this Lokuttara Dhamma. And actually, when we say Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, this is what we are supposed to be taking refuge in. This is refuge that is truly secure. It is secure from change. It does not break up, it does not dissolve, it does not crumble away. It's not loka, it's lokuttara. That's the nature of Nibbana. Nibbana does not change, does not arise, does not disappear, because it is unconditioned. So it is just the state of absolute peace, unchanging peace. Okay? So Santi Sukha, happiness of peace. So, so a wise person will take refuge in this. That's why we said Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. And so when we say Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, it is actually like an adhitthana. You are making a determination. I must strive to realize this Lokuttara Dhamma, this Magga Phala Nibbana. I must strive. So, so the meaning of loka means that which breaks up, it crumbles, dissolves away. That's loka, that is the world. And it talk about three kinds of loka, three kinds of world. So one is satta loka, and then there's okasa loka, and then sankhara loka. Okay? So satta loka, satta means beings, right? So the world of beings. So when we say like Malaysians, Singaporeans, Thais, Americans, Australians, this is the world of beings. Right? Beings, right? So when we say mammals, amphibians, reptiles, these are also satta loka, the world of beings. When we say human, devas, brahmas, petas, and so on, this also satta loka, world of beings. And then the second is okasa loka. Okasa literally means space. So the world of space, or you can say special world. Special, S-P-A-T-I-A-L. Special world. So this includes what you study in geography. Malaysia is here, Thailand above, Singapore at the tail end, Indonesia all around. That is okasa loka. But this not just what is in geography, but it includes also the planets, the stars, the galaxies. So all this comes under okasa loka. Okay? And finally, we have sankhara loka, the world of conditioned realities. Okay? Sankhara, the formations, nama rupa, conditioned realities. Of the three, satta loka, okasa loka, sankhara loka. Actually, sankhara loka is the real world, finally, in the ultimate analysis. So sankhara loka is the real world. The other two, satta loka, okasa loka, world of beings, and the special world. These are actually just concepts. Beings are concepts, right? Planets, stars, galaxies, all these are concepts. And these concepts are built upon sankhara, upon conditioned realities. And so ultimately, what is real is sankhara, sankhara loka. So here in the Satipatthana Sutta, when the Buddha says loka, overcoming the world, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. The world here means sankhara loka. So the nama rupa, all the five aggregates, all the six sense base and so on. So in one sutta, I can't remember, I think it was Venerable Ananda who asked the Buddha, people say the world, the world. What is the world? That's the question. So the Buddha replied, the I is the world. I. Visible form is the world. Eye consciousness is the world. Eye contact is the world. Feeling born of eye contact is the world. Ear is the world. Ear consciousness, sound is the world. Ear consciousness is the world. Ear contact is the world. The feeling born of ear contact is the world, and so on. So this is the world. This is our world. Finally, this is our world. Right? In the ultimate analysis. And this is the world of the yogi. Right? So sankhara loka means object of meditation. Right? So when you meditate, practice satipatthana, so what do you note? You note the body, feeling, consciousness, Dhamma. Right? So when you note the body is your world. When you're not feeling is your world, and so on. So for a yogi, each moment when you note, the object that you note, that is your world. That is your world. But not just the object, as we said just now, it's the whole of that experience. Right? So not just the object, but the knowing of the object. So the entire experience, nama rupa, all the various mental and physical nature that is present in the experience, that is your world. Okay? Yeah. But when you are noting, you are actually noting only one of this nature. Right? Your mind can only note one of this nature in that moment. Although there are many other nature, mental, physical nature. But at that moment, you can only note one. Right? So that one that you know, that is your world. At that time, that's all you know. That is your world. That is your whole world. Nothing else. Right? So if you are noting rising, rising is your world. You are noting falling, falling is your world. If you're not sitting, sitting is your world. You're not touching, touching is your world. If you're not tightness, tightness is your world. If you're not tension, tension is your world. You're not knowing of the tension, that knowing is your world. So yogis overcome the covetousness and grief with regards to this world. That means this object that you are noting. Okay, so that means at that time when you're noting, so you're noting rising, at that time you overcome the covetousness and grief with regards to the rising. No covetousness and grief arise towards that rising. If you're not falling, then no covetousness and grief arise with regards to the falling. Okay? So for example, if the rising is very nice, very comfortable, soft, smooth, easy, no covetousness arise, no attachment arise towards that rising. If you are noting properly. Or if the rising is uncomfortable, it's very tight, or very tense, very oppressive, no grief, no aversion arise towards it as well. So you abandon, you overcome covetousness and grief with regards to the world, to the object that you are noting. Okay? Every moment when you note, covetousness and grief does not arise. with regards to the object that you are noting. This is what we mean, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. So now, so in the commentary explained, covetousness actually refers to kama chanda, the hindrance of sensual desire. Okay, so that means it's attachment. Okay, so so covetousness means you're attached to it, okay, to the object. Grief means you're unhappy about it. Right? So that means it's vyapada, the hindrance of ill will. Okay? So these two, kama chanda and vyapada, sensual desire and ill will, among the 5 hindrances, these two are the most powerful. These are the 2 major hindrances. Okay, so these 2 are the major ones that usually hinders, obstruct the development of concentration, of clear wisdom. Okay, so because these 2 are the most powerful ones, so when they are mentioned, so according to the commentary, we can also include the other 3 hindrances, the sloth and torpor, the restlessness and remorse, and wavering doubt. We can include them here also, because if this method is powerful enough, method of noting, satipatthana noting, if it is powerful enough to remove, to overcome covetousness and grief, that means sensual desire and ill will, then because these 2 are the most powerful the hindrances, so if they can be removed, then the other 3 hindrances also will, you'll be able to remove them through the method of satipatthana noting. Yeah, so therefore, you can include the other 3 hindrances in over here also. So that means taken together, essentially what this means is overcoming covetousness and grief. You can also understand it as meaning overcoming the 5 hindrances. Okay, so this is the result of satipatthana noting. Now, with regards to the word vinaya, vinaya lokya bija domanasam, means overcoming. Yeah, overcoming covetousness and grief. So vinaya, here we translate it following the translation of the late Sayadaw U Silananda. We translate it as overcoming. Okay? So, but if you read other translation, mostly they translate it as having overcome, right? Mostly, most translator, most scholars will translate it grammatically according as having overcome. So that means you dwell contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having overcome covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay, but I think I've also explained this before. So the correct translation should be overcoming and not having overcome. So this again was explained by Sayadaw Silananda. So he says, if you have already overcome covetousness and grief, or the hindrances, then you no longer need to practice, because you have already achieved the purpose of satipatthana. Right? Remember one of the purpose of Satipatthana? We discuss Sattana Visuddhiya, for the purification of beings, which means for the purification of the minds of beings. So if you have already overcome covetousness and grief, the hindrances, that means you have already purified your mind. So the goal of Satipatthana has been achieved. Then why are you still practicing Satipatthana? Right? Yeah. So it's not having overcome. Because if you have already overcome, then you don't need to practice anymore. If you have already overcome, that means you are liberated. Right? So what it means is that overcoming means in the act of noting, as you are noting anupassana, noting continuously, moment by moment by moment, noting precisely with ardent, energetic effort, with mindfulness, with clear comprehension. Every moment when you note like this, in that moment when you note, the hindrances are overcome. The hindrances have no opportunity to arise. Okay, that's the meaning. That means in that moment, as you are noting, you are overcoming this covetousness and grief. Okay, yeah, and then it's not that you overcome the hindrance, then you start noting. Okay, yeah, because how can the hindrances be overcome without noting? Right? So, and if you say that having overcome the hindrances, then you start practice, then you start noting, then also you will never start your practice. Because you don't start, you say you don't start until there's no more hindrances, right? Until you have overcome all the hindrances, then only you start noting, right? So, but without noting, the hindrances will always be present. So you'll never start practicing. So, yeah. So the correct meaning should be overcoming. Even as you are noting, you are overcoming. But the question is, okay, we say that it is overcoming, not having overcome. But is it grammatically correct? Is this translation grammatically correct? We cannot just simply put our idea into it. We must also look at the grammar. Is it correct? So you look at this form, this vinaya, the grammatical form is a verb, okay? But is in a certain grammatical, Pali grammatical form. Okay, so I don't know what's the equivalent in English. So I don't think there is an equivalent to this in English, but I'm not sure. I'm not a grammarian. But this grammatical form in Pali, it can allow us to translate it in different ways. Okay, so now basically in this sentence, this basic instruction, there are two verbs, right? So the main verb and then the secondary verb. So the main verb is what? The main verb is viharati. That means he dwells. Anupasi viharati. He dwells contemplating. So dwelling viharati is the main verb. Vinaya is like the secondary verb. Okay? So now, in this grammatical form, this action of the secondary verb it can take place in 3 different times relative to the main work, relative to viharati. So the overcoming, that means the secondary work, the overcoming, the act of overcoming can take place either before the main action, before you dwell contemplating the body in the body, right? So this is what they usually translate, right? So you having overcome, it takes place before. Having overcome, then you dwell contemplating the body in the body. If you were to rearrange the translation, then you should read, having overcome covetousness and grief with regards to the world, then the bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful. So it takes place before. But it can also, the action of the secondary work can also take place after the primary work. So the main work. So in this case, then you will translate it something like the bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, etc., etc. And then after that, he overcome covetousness and grief with regards to the world. I don't know how that would happen. Maybe today he practiced and he go to sleep. Next morning he wake up, overcome already. Maybe something like that. So, and then the last possibility is that the two action takes place at the same time, simultaneously. And this is what we translate it as. That means they dwell contemplating the body in the body and so on, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay. Yeah. So this grammatical form allows for these 3 possibilities. You can translate it in these 3 different ways. Actually, there are more ways than this, but we are not going into that. Okay. So, yeah. So from these 3, so based on our experience when we meditate, we see that actually as you are noting, the hindrances are overcome. Right? It's not that you overcome it and then only you start noting. Yeah? So the correct translation should be overcoming. That means it takes place. The act of overcoming takes place at the same time as the act of noting. Okay? Yeah. So it's grammatically correct. And it should be overcoming, not having overcome. Okay. Now, concerning overcoming also, there is in the commentary, they explain that there are 2 kinds of overcoming that's possible through satipatthana. Okay, so there is tadanga vinaya and vikambana vinaya. Okay, so actually these 2 also we have already explained when we were discussing about for the purification of the minds of beings, right? So satipatthana is for the purification of the mind of beings. When we discussed this, we already explained tadanga pahana and tadanga vinaya. Okay, but here the commentary says tadanga vinaya and vikambana vinaya. So vinaya and pahana actually it means quite the same thing, just different aspect of the same thing. Vinaya is overcoming. Pahana means abandoning. So overcoming defilements and abandoning the defilements, it means the same thing. Okay? Yeah, so tadanga vinaya, overcoming through this method of Tadanga. Tadanga means that you overcome by Tadanga Vinaya. It means you overcome by substituting something with something that is opposite. Okay, so in this case, it means you substitute what is akusala with what is kusala, what is unwholesome, defiled with what is pure and wholesome. So you substitute. In this case, actually, you substitute covetousness and grief. Substitute it with vipassana, with insight. Okay, so so as a yogi is continuously noting the nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta. Right? This means he's experiencing insight vipassana, insight into nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta. So as you are experiencing this insight, nature, anicca, dukkha, anatta, again and again, continuously. So every moment when you experience insight into anicca, dukkha, anatta, in that moment, this covetousness and grief do not have a chance to arise. Right? So in this way, it is overcome. Okay? So, that means you don't give it a chance. So notice here that overcoming does not mean that the defilements arise and then you quickly note it. Attachment, ill will, you dispel it. Not like this. That's what you do as a beginner. But in the Satipatthana instruction, that is not what the Buddha meant. So, so what it means is that you are noting continuously and you are experiencing insight continuously. Insight into anicca, dukkha, anatta. So, and in every moment, you are able to experience nature, anicca, dukkha, anatta. You don't give rise, you don't give opportunity for the covetousness and grief to arise. They do not have any opportunity to arise. Every moment you experience insight. In that moment, they have no opportunity to arise. Okay? So if you are experiencing insight continuously, then continuously they do not have a chance to arise. This is what we mean, overcoming. So that means you overcome it by not giving it opportunity, by substituting it instead with insight. Okay? So this is called Tadanga. Tadanga Vinaya, overcoming by substituting. It's very difficult to translate this Tadanga. Literally, it means something like that factor, overcoming by that factor. What it actually means is that you substitute with that factor. That means that wholesome factor, that wholesome state. Okay? Yeah. Now, Tadanga Vinaya, it only abandons the covetousness and grief at the moment of noting. When you are noting clearly, discerning clearly, anicca, dukkha, anatta, at that moment it abandons. Right? But in moments when there's noting, when there's a lapse of mindfulness, because you cannot note continuously, sometimes there's lapses in your noting, right? So in that moment, when there's lapses in your noting, when there's no noting, then there's no overcoming. Okay? So therefore, Tadanga Vinaya is only momentary. It overcomes only in those moments when there are noting, not in those moments when they are noting. So it's only momentary overcoming. So therefore, that's why in the beginning of your practice, there is not much overcoming through this method. So, because in the beginning of practice, most of the time you are not noting. Most of the time there's no mindfulness. Noting is not continuous. Occasionally there's a noting here, noting there, sporadic noting. So there's not much overcoming. There's more of being overcome by covetousness and grief, rather than overcoming covetousness and grief. So that's why in the beginning yogis you need to make effort to try to note continuously, to build up the strength of the noting. So, so once you build it up, you can note continuously, then there will be more and more overcoming, and less of being overcome. So yogis needs to make, you need to make your best effort so that the noting is continuously occurring for as long as possible. It means anupassana. You need to make effort towards anupassana. Okay. Then gradually at some point you arrive at citta visuddhi, purity of mind. So purity of mind arises, and for a period of time, depending on how strong your samadhi is, for a period of time, noting occur continuously without a break. Then at that time, the continuous overcoming occur. So the mind remains exclusively pure. But once this citta visuddhi stops, then again, and you are again overcome, being overcome instead of overcoming. But if you re-establish it again, you will go in, and then you'll be pure again. Okay? So the idea is to have more moments of overcoming than moments of being overcome. Okay. Okay. Then the second kind of overcoming is vikambana vinaya. That means by suppression. Okay. Overcoming by means of suppression. Suppression with what? With samadhi. That means with the jhana factors. So as you develop samadhi, the jhana factors become strong enough, then they will counter the hindrances. So when vitakka is strong enough, so it is able to suppress laziness, sloth and torpor, because vitakka makes the mind active, energetic. Okay? Then vichara, when it's strong enough, it holds the attention continuously on the object. It overcomes wavering doubt. Piti, when it's strong enough, it overcomes ill will. Sukha, bliss, when it's strong enough, it calms the mind, overcomes restlessness. Ekagata, one-pointedness, when it's strong enough, it overcomes suppressed sensual desire. Okay, so this is called vikambana vinaya, overcoming by suppression. Okay. That means through the development of samadhi. So you suppress these hindrances. And this overcoming by means of suppression, vikambana vinaya, it lasts while you are noting. Okay? And even after you have stopped noting. The covetousness and grief does not return immediately, even after you stop noting. So it's kept away from the mind, even if you stop noting. The mind remains pure for a while after you have stopped meditating. If the overcoming is through this vikambana vinaya, okay, through suppression by samadhi. Okay, so eventually they will return, but depending on the strength of the samadhi, it will last for a period of time after you stop meditating. If your samadhi is very weak, maybe just a few minutes or even just a few seconds. So, but if stronger, you can last for maybe a few hours. Even you stop meditating for a few hours, your mind remains pure. Or sometimes can even last for days. For some people, their samadhi is so strong, it can even last for weeks. So that's purity of mind. So, but sooner or later, if you do not resume your meditation, and especially when you are exposed to alluring sensual objects, then it will arise again. It will arise again because the root of these defilements have not been pulled out. It's only suppressed. Okay? Yeah. So this method of suppression, it lasts longer through Vikambana. Now, Mahasi Sayadaw explained it in another way, which is more relevant to Vipassana meditation. So he says, Tadanga Vinaya, remove the defilements at the moment when the object is being noted. Whereas Vikambana Vinaya, by suppression, this one remove the defilements on those objects that are not noted. So I will read to you what he says. It's easier to understand what he says directly instead of me explaining it. So according to the Sayadaw, when a meditator is constantly observant of every mental and physical phenomenon and comprehends each of the phenomena clearly as impermanent, unsatisfactory, insubstantial, and not beautiful, effort, mindfulness, and concentration will develop in him. Because of this development, the mind becomes so refined that even on the non-observed object, that means object that you are not noting, so even it becomes so refined that even on the non-observed objects, attachment and ill will don't arise. So even when he is resting, gross attachment and ill will do not arise in him to such an extent that he comes to think that gross attachment and ill will cannot arise in him at all. Thus, the subdued state of defilements, even on the non-observed objects, by the fact of observing the present object, is what is called temporary removal. This means Vikambana Vinaya. Okay, he called it temporary removal. So that means it's removed for a temporary period of time. Okay. The other one, Tatanga Vinaya, he called it momentary removal. That means he remove it for only that moment. Okay. Temporary means longer than a moment. Okay. So that's the subdued state of defilements, even on the non-observed objects, by the fact of observing the present object, is what is called temporary removal by the group of concentration members present at each observing act. So this temporary removal of greed and hatred, this is temporary removal of greed and hatred. Okay? So a meditator experiences these two kinds of removal, momentary removal on the object observed and temporary removal on the non-observed object every time he is observing. To get these two benefit of removal, the meditator must practice contemplation of his body, observing every physical phenomenon which is evident at the present moment. This is what the Buddha meant. Okay? So that means that when you are noting, in that moment, you are overcoming. But this is only momentary. But as you develop this momentary removal again and again and again, so your practice gain momentum. It has this momentum such that even after you stop meditating, the mind remains pure. So that means when you stop meditating, that means you are not noting, you are not observing the object. Even on the objects that is not observed, the covetousness and grief does not arise. Okay, so this purity of mind that arises, even when you are not noting, this is called temporary removal. Okay, so or the vikambana. Vinaya, because it does not arise, even you're noting, because of the power of samadhi, they suppress the hindrances. Okay. Yeah. So in the practice of satipatthana, yogi can experience these two kinds of purity. Either at the moment when you note, you can feel the mind is pure, and if your practice have enough momentum, even after you stop meditating for a while, you feel your mind is pure. This is actually very common among yogis. After their retreat, first few days, you go back, oh, it's so nice, so pure. Nothing can touch the mind. You don't want to watch TV, don't want to read papers. Nothing can attract you. But you stop meditating long enough, you see what happens. It comes back again. Okay. Now, actually, there's another kind of removal called samucceda vinaya. But this one is overcoming by means of the Ariya Magga at the moment of the path. Okay? So that means this is really uprooting the defilements through the noble path. Okay, so but Satipatthana Sutta, it deals only with the practice of Satipatthana, so not with the realization. Okay, so it's the practice leading to realization. So therefore, the samucceda vinaya, by overcoming, by cutting off at the root. And this is not included here. This is not what the Buddha meant when he says overcoming covetousness and grief. Okay, so because this is the practice. So in the practice, you only overcome either by noting or by suppressing through concentration. Okay. However, it does not mean that Satipatthana cannot bring about the overcoming by cutting the root. Okay? Because remember, Satipatthana is samasati, right mindfulness. It is a factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay? It also arises at the moment of Ariya Magga, when the real Noble Eightfold Path, at the moment of enlightenment, arises. Satipatthana is there also. At that moment, it overcomes by samucceda, cutting off the root of the defilements. Okay, but not while you are practicing. So Satipatthana Sutta actually deals with the practice, not with realization. Okay. Yeah. Although actually, towards the end of it, of Satipatthana Sutta, when Buddha talk about Four Noble Truths, actually in there is part of it is actually supramundane. You remember Four Noble Truths? The first two truths is loka, is mundane, or lokiya, is mundane, pertaining to loka. Lokiya means pertaining to loka, pertaining to the mundane world. The first two truths, suffering and the cause of suffering, is lokiya, is mundane. But the third and the fourth truth is lokuttara, is supramundane. Right? The third noble truth is nibbana itself, supramundane. The fourth noble truth is Ariya Magga. So these two are lokuttara. Okay? So towards the end of the practice, it comes the realization. That's why the Four Noble Truths is put right at the end of the Satipatthana Sutta. Those involve realization. That means awakening. Okay. Yeah. So the overcoming takes place by means of insight as well as by means of samadhi. Okay. So in the beginning is more through samadhi. So in the beginning when you practice, so you make effort to practice anupassana. You make effort to note continuously again and again, note precisely with ardent energetic effort, with mindfulness, and maybe a little bit clear comprehension, as much as you can bring up in the beginning. And because of this continuous noting, samadhi is established. And then once samadhi is there, then every moment when you note, it overcomes covetousness and grief. Okay, but through samadhi comes sampajanya, clear comprehension. Right. So once clear comprehension is also established, then when you note, then you can overcome both through samadhi as well as through sampajanya, through insight. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the meaning of the last part, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Yeah. So we stop here tonight. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Buddham Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Dhammam Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Sangham Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Mata Pitunam Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Acariyanam Pujemi. Adha imaya Patipadaya Jaramranamha Rimuchisami. Idame punyam Asawakaya Vaham Hodu. Idame punyam Nibbanasa Pajayo Hodu. Idame silam Magaphalanyanasa Pajayo Hodu. Imam no Bunya Bhagam Sabbasadanam Dema. Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasadanam Dema. Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasadanam Dema. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So may all of you be well, happy, and peaceful always. May all of you be always healthy, safe, and strong, and be able to continuously practice the Dhamma without any obstacle, without any hindrances. May your practice be always smooth sailing. And may you all soon be able to experience the unconditioned peace of Nibbana through your practice of the Dhamma.